What up, y'all? Welcome to Rolling By. We're doing a podcast. Guys. I don't usually do podcasts, but I was down in Daytona, I thought it'd be a great idea to talk about all in one big giant video and post it on my podcast platforms and YouTube. This is gonna be raw, straight through it. There ain't gonna be no cutting, no anything in this one. Just start to finish, talking about my Daytona experience. Drove 14 hours to get down there. I'm from Pennsylvania. Split the drive in half, drove like 7 hours down there, got an Airbnb, and then I think that was in like North Carolina, and then I drove the next 7 straight through to get there around Thursday afternoon. I stayed at this campground. I was called Crazy Horse Campground. It was right near the Daytona Flea Market, which I guess is very popular in that area. It was very busy on the weekends, like packed on the weekends. Thursday was pretty chill. Friday was pretty chill, and the afternoon was pretty packed, and then Monday when I left, it was a very small amount of people there, but it's kind of like it's a very active. I think it's open all the time. I don't think it's ever not open, which I don't know fully about it, but that was kind of where the campground was in there. Solid campground, a lot of race fans there. It was cool to be there. It's like a half an hour walk to get there from the track and back. I actually chose to walk half an hour to get to the track. The shuttle, they have this shuttle that takes, it goes to multiple campgrounds in that area. And I already went there. I got there really late in the afternoon Thursday, and that was from the duels. I wanted to get there in time for the duels and all the pre-race stuff because I got the infield fan zone. And that was really cool to just be in Daytona, first time ever, under the lights. It was so sick, dude. Oh my gosh, it was incredible. It did rain there when I showed up there, but that was before my campsite was set up. But that was awesome, getting there and being there. Just to see the racing, watch Super Speedway racing for the first time, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The duels were really entertaining, or they were fun to watch. Friday with the trucks was cool, watching Cup Series practice. The fan zone was really cool with the way where the fan zone, there's the Cup Series garages, and you can stand on top of the Cup Series garages and kind of look out with where the haulers are and people walking around. That was a really cool experience. I think the fan zones are really, if you ever want to go down there and get you don't want to buy a VIP, which those are really expensive. I don't know how much they are for the 500, but I spent $160 for 4 straight days of the infield fan zone. And then I bought grandstand tickets that I sat for duels, trucks, Xfinity, Cup. The ARCA race, I stayed in the fan zone because the ARCA race was on Saturday, and I was waiting until to go to the grandstands until the Xfinity Series race. And the cool thing about Daytona, they had track access. They had track access. Holy goodness. For all 3 of their main series races. So they had, well, actually all 4. They had track access for the duels, where you could be out in the infield, in the grass, and on the track on the front stretch for Thursday, Friday, Saturday for Xfinity, and Sunday for Cup. And that was really cool. So you get to be all up close and personal around everyone, and the concerts and the pre-race stuff, and the cars were right there on the grid. That was really cool. I really enjoyed that. The grandstand experiences, I sat third level for all the races up high, so I saw the entire track. That was a cool perspective. You can see really well up there. That track doesn't look as big from up top. When you're down in the infield, it feels massive, but it feels smaller from up top. But you can see the entire pack, the backstretch. It was harder to see the pack in the backstretch. You didn't really know what was going on. It looked like they were just going straight. You couldn't really tell if the cars or the trucks were moving around that much. But they had 3 massive infield big screens, Jumbotron screens on there, so you could see you were never going to miss any moment in the action, no matter where you sat. So that was cool. But overall, I don't want to get too much into my overall experience. I want to talk about the racing. I don't want to make these podcasts that long. So we're going to talk about the racing. Duels were really exciting, as they always are. People that made it in there. Corey LaJoie made it in. Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex made it on single car qualifying. So yeah, Corey LaJoie made it into the 500 on, I think it was the highest finishing in duel two, and then Junior Motorsports was the highest finishing car as an open car in Duel 1, man. That was cool to see Junior Motorsports, the excitement and energy for that race. And the Corey Joy, a guy who gets so much hate for stuff he says in the media and how he's never did this, never done that. And for him to get into the 500, I had to feel good for him. So I was happy for Corey, and I was happy for Junior Motorsports to witness that history. We did have that controversial finish in Duel 2 where Eric Jones crossed the finish line first, but they threw a caution at the front stretch, and Cindric was ahead of Eric Jones at the time of caution. I don't really like that because I get they want to protect drivers and their safety, but you are not going to affect a safety vehicle getting out there, no matter you threw the caution or not. They were going to get there as soon as that race was over. They had like 50 more yards. Boom, the cars go by. Boom, get to the cars. You weren't going to affect, I don't think, drivers at all in that, or whether or not you deploy the safety vehicles sooner rather than later, because the race was about to end right there. That was the only thing I didn't like about the duels. And then Friday, the truck race, that was another one that we had a little controversy. If I go over to talk about that race here, so there was some of the stats in the race. The race lasted about 2 hours and 9 minutes. Average speed was 16 mile per hour, 116 mile per hour. There was 8 cautions for 33 laps. And I forget exactly who won. I think Lane Riggs might have won the fastest lap point. That was the new Xfinity fastest lap. You get 1 point from that. I don't exactly remember. But no, the front race was fun. I thought the front row Motorsports cars were the fastest cars in the entire race. But then there was a restart near the end where I saw that Chandler Smith in the 38 truck had some damage. No, it was 34 truck, excuse me. And he had some damage in the front end, and it affected Lane Riggs' team and him for being as effective in the draft. So that was a little bit downing in that race. It's not a downer, but that really affected their ability to be fast the rest of the race. And then we saw, Parker Clearman and Henderson Racing. They're a part-time team, small team in a Chevy truck. Parker Clearman, no longer a full-time guy, made incredible moves at the end of that race. And it was fun to watch. I love Parker. I think he's a great guy, great fan favorite. He has a great podcast called the Money Night Podcast. He's now on the CW. He's on the CW broadcast. I heard a lot of good things about the CW broadcast as well. So that's great. I'll have to check out the broadcast in Atlanta. I was there at Daytona, so I never got to experience the broadcast. So I'm looking forward to that. He makes a great move. Was leading at the time of caution at the end of the truck race. Big wreck, multiple wrecks in this race. Lots of instances, as always, at Daytona. Let me get some water here. Excuse me. He wins the race. Parker Clearman wins the race. The energy, the excitement from him was awesome. But then in post-race inspection, I was finding the rear of his truck was too low on both sides. And I guess the team is going to appeal. And I've heard that the appeals hearing will be on Thursday. They seem very confident in what they're going to pretty much present to the appeals panel about why this truck was lower. Did something break? We know everyone was speculating about when Alex Bowman's car was too light. Did something break on that car, and was there weight that was lost from that because the car was too light? So I don't know what's going to happen from here. I hope they win the appeal because I love Parker. It was a great story. The energy he showed, like I said, was awesome. But Corey Heim didn't win the race. He stayed out of trouble as well. And a guy that I think is going to win 4 to 5 races this year is going to get some help on his first win of the season. The top 10 from that race was Corey Heim was first. Second was Gio Ruggiero. He was also a fast guy in that race. Was really impressive as a rookie. Made some mistakes that cost him that race. Ty Majeski, third. Fourth, Grant Ainsfair. Fifth, Justin Halley, running a part-time schedule for Spire in the Truck Series. Sixth, Chandler Smith. Seventh, Daniel Hemrick. Eighth, Jason White. Ninth, Williamson Walsh. And 10th, Frankie Muniz. 10th for Frankie Muniz. That's awesome for him. Happy for him to get that top 10. And then there was nothing really. Lane Riggs finished 13. He was a guy who led. How many laps did Lane Riggs? Yeah, he didn't lead any laps. Chandler Smith finishing 6th. He led 34 laps of the 100 laps. And then Gio Ruggiero led 11. Corey Heim only led 2 laps. And then down here, the guy who led 2 laps, Parker Clearman finishing last, because when you get DQ, you get last place points. But overall, guys, I really enjoyed the truck race. I thought it was a typical truck race. It wasn't as wreck-fest. I felt like the truck race was going to be really a mess and just wrecks all the time because inexperience. But they actually did a good job keeping their trucks mostly clean until the end of the race where we saw some wrecks. But that's kind of what happens when people get desperate and make moves. You're going to have that. But overall, if I were to give this race a rating, I would give it a good old 7. 7. I thought it was a solid race. I mean, yeah, 7's a lot, but I mean, I'm always entertained with pack racing because they're always so close. So I give it a solid 7 when it comes to the rolling rate, the truck race. And then Saturday, we had the Xfinity Series race. We go over to my notes from the Xfinity Series race. The United Rentals 300. The time of the race was 2.5 hours. Cautions were 8 laps for 39 laps. Average speed was 123 miles per hour. I know exactly. I forget exactly who won the Xfinity fastest lap and got that 1 point from this race. But the viewership for this race did wonderful. CW says, or Adam Stern says from Sports Messenger, the CW says it drew 1.8 million viewers from Saturday's NASCAR Xfinity Series United Rentals 300. That's awesome. That's the best for the race in the series since Spring Talladega 2022 and the most watched Daytona season opener since 2020. So very successful numbers and weekend for Xfinity with the CW. This is going to be CW. They had a couple races last year, but that was kind of through the NBC crew. Now they have their own crew. Production looks really good. So I'm excited to see how the CW is. And it's great that CW gets great viewership. People were worried about if people weren't going to be able to watch it with, wasn't on the same, whatever TV provider they have, will they have it? Will they not? But, I think some people thought they couldn't see it on the app or whenever there's an app you can watch it on. I think there was a couple people that had some issues with the game, to watch the race. But besides that, it looks like it was very successful getting 1.8 million viewers. 1.8 million viewers for Xfinity Series season opener at Daytona. But the race, it was a domination race by RCR, dude. Austin Hill looked like he was the best car. If he was out front, he could do whatever he wanted. He could control the lanes. He was unstoppable. He won both stages, just dominating. I was listening to his spotter and him communicate. The amount of information that Austin Hill's spotter was giving Austin in that race was insane. They are just talking about, telling him that he is just on it every time. He's never taking a break talking. Even when Austin Hill's out there just leading the, there's only, Austin's out front, like he's against the wall, he's leading this one lane of cars. He's still giving them information, dude, which was really fun and impressive to watch. But I believe it was near the beginning of stage 3. They were talking about there was something broke or Austin Hill could smell something. I believe it was some oil or whatever. And Austin Hill broke something and he was done. And that then led to his teammate, who had another really fast car, take control of this race and just kind of do the same thing Austin Hill was doing. I would say that Austin Hill is a lot more experienced super speedway racer because he's had more years in the Xfinity Series. But Jesse Love, who did win Talladega last year, did a great job as well. Led the lines. I didn't really listen to any of his spotter, but he just did a great job. Had a fast car. There was another big wreck in this race that led to the caution, to the race ending under yellow, and Jesse Love won the race. So even though RCR may have lost their big guy in Austin Hill from winning this race, they got another guy in Jesse Love that stepped up. It may have happened for them. But yeah, RCR is just a different breed when it comes to super speedway racing, especially in the Xfinity Series. We have, if we look at our top 10, Jesse Love first, Sam Mayer second in his first official race with Haas factory team. Sheldon Creed third. So top 3 for both Haas factory cars. Carson Quatlow fourth, Taylor Gray fifth, 6th Harrison Norton in his first start with A&M Racing. 7th Jordan Anderson. Jordan Anderson, part-time driver. He's a full-time owner in his team. Jordan Anderson Racing is really cool for him. Dean Thompson, his first start for SHR Racing, Sam Hunt Racing. 8th, 9th, Jeremy Clemens. 10th, Patrick Emmerling. Chris Atkins was 12th there. 11th, Matt Benedetto. There was an incident in this race. A lot of people made fun of Chris Wright, number 5 driver in the number 5 car. First National Bank Corporation Chevrolet. He ran in the back of Josh Berlicki. they were making the final green flag stops in the race, and for some reason, Chris Wright blamed it on his spotter, but he didn't brake until the last moment and just destroyed the rear end of Josh Bilicki's car. It was a weird accident, really freak accident, but it made Chris Wright look really bad because he blamed it on his spotter when he's the one driving the car. I don't know why he blamed him. It looked like he just didn't use his brakes, and I don't know what was happening. Going too fast, the brakes didn't lock up. I don't know what happened there. Brakes weren't working. It was a really embarrassing for Chris Wright. He was getting torched on social media because of it. But that was one of the only notable, I guess it was kind of funny and embarrassing for Chris at the same time. There was a couple more incidents there. I don't know what else exactly happened. There was a couple big wrecks. Connor Zilch was involved in the wreck. Nick Sanchez was involved. Parker Retzlaff, Brendan Poole, William Sawalich, Greg Van Ost. So a lot of the top guys are well-known guys in Xfinity, like Connor Zilch was all involved in wrecks. They had issues. There was an early wreck there, I believe. There was also a wreck at the end of this race coming to the tri-oval. They were coming to one to go, and there was a wreck that then led to them throwing together. So really, I think the only race that finished under green besides the Cup race, now I'm thinking about it. ARCA finished under green, and the Duel 1 of the Cup finished under green, and the Cup Series Daytona 500 finished under green. So, but there was a majority of these races, the trucks and the Xfinity did not finish under green, so I was worried that it was going to turn into, we weren't going to be able to see any good green flag finishes, but we ended up doing that. So yeah, it was kind of what the Xfinity Series race looked like. It was a fun race, entertaining race. If I would give that thing a rating, I think I would give it around a 7.2 as well. Another fun race, entertaining race. Cool to watch the car. Every time the cars came by across the start-finish line, that was towards turn 1. Oh my gosh, the sound was awesome, dude. It was so fun to watch them come by around and just go around lap by lap. That was awesome. Now, we got to get into this race, the ARCA race, Saturday around 12. Oh my gosh. The ARCA race, if I can find it on my notes here. Let me find where I have this ARCA race on here. Okay, right here. The ARCA race was a 90-lap race, I believe. 90 laps. They had 7 cautions for 33 laps. That's almost half the race was under caution. It was an embarrassing race for ARCA. The fact, this is ARCA is owned by NASCAR. Now, it's not NASCAR because it's ARCA, but it's owned by NASCAR. It's a stock car series. Small teams, young drivers, part-time teams. There's barely any full-time teams. It was embarrassing. It was bad. I don't know how many wrecks they had in the first 20 laps. It was a ton. There was a lap on I think there was a wreck on lap 2 or 3, took out a bunch of cars, just people being the inexperienced level in ARCA. I don't know what the requirements are to be able to race in ARCA, but it doesn't seem that you have to do much or have much racing experience to race in ARCA, especially on a track like Daytona. We saw Cletus McFarland, also known as Garrett Mitchell. He's a very popular, I guess he's like a motorsports YouTuber, has a lot of cool motorsports content on his YouTube channel. He has multiple millions and millions of followers. They had an in-car camera of him during the race on NASCAR's YouTube channel. It had I don't know, I saw that recently. It has 700,000 views and 50,000 people watching. That's insane, but it's really cool. But for him to get an opportunity in ARCA, but a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, there's a YouTuber racing ARCA, how's that even possible? There's just a lot of, I think it's way too dangerous to have these inexperienced drivers in this series. Way too dangerous. They're going close to 180, 190 mile an hour, and no one has any respect. You don't know if a guy's going to slow down or not to not hit you. There was, I forget whoever caused the wreck on lap 3, he said he actually thought it was kind of fun. He was saying it was fun when he wrecked everyone. I don't know, I forget the guy's name, but he was saying it was kind of fun during his post-race interview after getting out of the care center. Gosh, guys, I think NASCAR needs to either have a more strict policy about who can race in ARCA or don't race at these super speedways with ARCA, dude. That's so dangerous having these inexperienced drivers. Cletus McFarland, Garrett Mitchell, he finished 30th in the race because he was involved in an accident, but he had an incredible post-race interview, dude. That was some of the most American stuff I ever listened to right there. But Brendan Queen, won the race. It was his first ARCA start. He's a Cars Tour champion. That was cool to see him win. Helio Castroneves, who raced in Cup with the Open Provisional, he finished 5th in this race. But then going into turn 1 after the race, AJ Moyer, who has the same last name as me, I don't support what AJ did here, but I guess he didn't know that the race was over, and he wrecked Helio Castroneves hard in the wall. He was like on his corner panel, and then I believe when he wrecked Helio, he went up to Brandon Queen, was like riding his rear end too when the race was over. So like the fact that like sometimes it seems like these drivers have no idea what's going on is really also another dangerous thing. But overall, this race, ARCA race, was embarrassing. It was a mess. It was also it was on Big Fox, so that also wasn't a great look for the sport either. That the fact that this also could represent and this may make people think this is what NASCAR is like, which is not what NASCAR is anywhere near like, at least in the higher divisions. But yeah, just a bad, embarrassing look for ARCA. Wow. Now, let's get to it. The Cup Series race. The Cup Series Daytona 500. To experience a Daytona 500 in person was one of the coolest experiences of my life. I got there early. They said get there early because the President Trump was going to show up, which was going to be really cool. I got there around like 8:30, 8:40. Security was insane. Security, I mean, they were touching my cooler bag multiple freaking times. I was like, man, they ain't playing around. I had this like portable charger in my bag. I was worried that they were going to think that was a weapon or something because I make so much content with my phone that my battery drains out fast. But they were okay. You know, I had my scanner, my food. That was good. It flowed really well. I got there early. I went through the fan zone entrance to get I stayed in the infield until the race started, and then I went to my grandstands, went through the wall and the track. So those lines weren't as bad. But I knew people missed out on this race or missed the start of the 500 because of security. But, I mean, the lines were massive, but NASCAR did give you the permission and ability. They gave you a heads up. I think it was like Friday when they told you they were going to push the race up, push the race closer to an hour back. So those fans complaining, NASCAR did give you a warning to come in earlier. But the festivities, being outside, I was warm. I was wearing a sweatshirt for some reason because I didn't want to get burnt. Seeing the cars get rolled to the starting grid, being out there during the concert for Pitbull was awesome. All the festivities they do. I had a cooler bag, and I put my cooler bag. So I walked up the bank, and the front stretch bank is pretty steep. And I laid it down, and I laid it in the way it has like a zipper up top. If I don't close that zipper, then the food all rolls down, and that's what happened. I put my cooler back down, the banking's steep, it falls down, and a bunch of my drinks and snacks fall and roll down the banking. It was pretty embarrassing, but at least there were some great fans to help clean it up for me. So that was like a kind of embarrassing moment. I met some fans also during the pre-race, but that was awesome. Seeing Air Force One fly over Daytona was incredible. That was awesome to see Trump there. Then, Pitbull concert, driver introductions was awesome. Then I walk up to my grandstands. I sit down. Here comes the Beast and Trump with all these security rolling around turn 2 and 1, which was awesome, dude. That was freaking incredible to see that live. And then Trump pulls up. There's the national anthem to fly over. We had this great air show from the Thunderbirds. That was incredible. Driver starter engines. Trump pacing the field. That was just freaking all that. The entire pre-race at Daytona was awesome. And then the green flag, that drops, and that was awesome. And we run about 10 laps, and then the weather hits. And the weather was coming. We didn't know how much. It didn't seem like it was going to be a bad storm, but hopefully it wasn't going to last all day. It didn't. I mean, the winter delay, I believe, was like 3 or 4 hours with drying the track. And then the car started rolling. I don't know exactly what time it was. It was around 5 or 6, I believe, when they started going again. And then we had, they rolled around the track for 10 laps, and then there was some more rain to hit. Came back down pit road and tried the track, and then, so I'd say around 6 o'clock probably is when they started officially starting the Daytona 500. And then the Daytona 500 began, and it was a typical super speedway type racing. It was a lot of fuel saving, 3 wide racing, which looked great on TV, but it's just kind of how the racing is now. But it was fun. It was entertaining to watch. The Penske cars looked like the best cars. Kyle Busch said that he felt like Joey Logano was the best car in this race. I agree. The Penske cars, when they were on the draft, Austin Cindric, I had Austin Cindric to win this race, and he looked pretty good until the end of this race, which we'll get to. But the Penske cars looked fast. It looked like, those guys were hooked up. Even the Fords, like Brad and Joey were hooked up there in the end of stage one, which then led to Joey winning that race. Winning stage one, excuse me. So the Fords looked like the best. Toyotas and Chevys were all just kind of playing catch up to them. And I forget exactly, if I look at some of the stats here, I'm trying to think who led the most laps. Okay, Austin Cindric led the most laps. He led 60 laps. Also, we saw Bubba Wallace. He led 18 laps. Ryan Blaney led 23 laps. So you got the top two Penske cars there, Austin Cindric. Then we go down here. Oh, okay. Let me see here. Okay, so the Team Penske cars in this race. Joey Logano, he led 43 laps. Ryan Blaney led 23 laps, and Austin Cindric led 59 laps. That tells you that the Team Penske cars were on a freaking mission in this race. They were the best cars in this race. But then, they kind of get involved in wrecks at the end of this race. That was kind of where they kind of ruined their chances to win this race. I'm trying to think here. What was it? Yes, it was on a lap 187. And that had the 22 was involved, the 12 was involved, the 4, the 9, the 8, the 47, the 34, and the 41. That was a scary wreck. But it was all started because we had this, they were kind of messing around like chicken. They were playing chicken almost. It was the 47 and the 22 were kind of like, they were just, sweaving back and forth. The 47 was trying to keep the 22 behind them, and the 22 was trying to get around the 47. And then going down the backstretch, the 22, I think, made a move, and then the 47 blocked him, and then the 22 kept going lower and lower down the racetrack, and then trying to fit in this hole that wasn't there between right next to his teammate, and then wrecked, I think, the 12, and 12 went up, the 12 went into the 47, and then 22 was involved, and all heck broke loose then. And a lot of people were mad at Joey because he felt like Joey was just forcing the issue. There was 13 laps left in this race. Yeah, 13 laps. Yeah, 13 laps. 13 laps left in this race. I mean, you say that's kind of desperation time, but when you're up front, why are you trying to make desperation moves? Stay up there, trying to stay up there and then make your moves at the end of this race. But Joey just didn't give a crap. He wanted to get by the 47, and he was determined to do it and screwed his chance to win the 500 over in the 47 and everyone else. Kyle Busch was not happy because they had some issues with the DVP policy, which we'll get into then. But that was a massive wreck. Took out the two best cars, I guess, and Ryan Blaney and Joey. And then we get a restart, and it was a battle between Austin Cindric and Hamlin. Looked like that was a great battle. It was clean. Both drivers raced respectful. No one was trying to make some crazy blocks there. And then I want to say here, I'm trying to think exactly what happened. And I'm trying to think here. What happened here? Oh, yes. Okay. So then there was another wreck. And that was started by the 41 pushing the 20 down the backstretch. And that was with 3 laps to go. It was a bad push by the 41. He pushed the 20 in the wrong part of the back bumper. Just usually you're supposed to push the car in front of you more straight up. And he pushed him in the corner panel, and that turned the 20 into the wall, and then the 20 came back across the racetrack, the cars coming down the backstretch, and then he destroyed the front end of Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece gets airborne, air gets under that car, and picks that thing up, does a backflip, lands, I think, on the apron, and then slides back up and hits the outside wall in turn 3. A scary wreck. Man, not a great look there for Cole Custer because he just made a bad push, but that's what you have to do. Christopher Bell, who was the one that took the big hit to the outside wall, was one that said no one is at fault. It's just what you have to do now with these cars. You got to just push. That's how you go. That's how you move forward. You got to push. And just a scary wreck for Ryan Preece. And look, man, Ryan Preece, that's his second flip in Daytona in the past 3 years. He had that scary flip in 2023 during the Coke Zero 400 where he flipped like multiple times. They got rid of the grass in the backstretch because of that. And then this time, look, man, I think the issues with the cars flipping in the NASCAR Cup Series today is because the rear end of these cars is just sealed off. And the reason it's sealed off is because they have a diffuser. And they make all their downforce because of that diffuser. And if you have gaps and holes under that car, then the diffuser is not going to work effectively. So I think, in my opinion, this car is very flawed in many ways. And it's very flawed in the way that it's not a very good car when it comes to trying to keep cars on the ground. But cars always flip. But this car is probably worst when it comes to airborne crashes because it's literally has no place for the air to go when air gets under the car. It's just going to suck that thing around every time. Any space under there, it's over. That car's going to go around. NASCAR's trying to make changes to it. They add like a shark fin and all this stuff, man. But when cars are going fast, it's going to be hard. If there's any chance of air getting under there, if it gets under there, good luck, man. It's not going to be a great day for that driver. And a lot of the airborne crashes have mostly been Fords. A lot of people think it's the way the design of the Ford is or whatever. But also it just seems like maybe the Fords are just the ones that wreck more often. I don't know. They got more aggressive drivers or whatever. But yeah, I felt terrible for Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece had some scary things about, he was talking about his kids, his daughter. He doesn't want to be the one that, he doesn't want to be the one that shows you why airborne crashes are so bad. He was almost thinking that he was going to go over the fence. So that's some serious talk. That's something you don't want your drivers talking about their life like that and talking about how they have a family. They don't want to lose their life and not be there for their family. So that is a scary situation. And then we have another wreck, and it was another battle between Austin Cindric and Denny Hamlin. Those two were going back and forth. But yeah, the race clean, like I said. I'm trying to think. I think Chase Briscoe had pushes. Austin Cindric had some pushes there with Corey LaJoie. I think Noah Gragson up there. I don't have a replay in front of my face. But they had a restart, rewind checkered. They raced clean the first lap and then the white flag. And then going down the backstretch, Denny Hamlin was out front. And then another bad push from Cole Custer. He got turned the wall. But didn't get turned the wall too fast. Cars going everywhere. Cindric got wrecked too, I think, by Cole, because Cole came down on Cindric. And William Byron squeaked by this wreck. And also, Tyler Reddick did, and Jimmy Johnson. And then there was a bunch of crashing after that. But there was no caution. And with that, they raced back. And William Byron won this race, beat out Tyler Reddick to win the 2025 Daytona 500. I mean, congrats to William Byron winning the Daytona 500. Crazy how it happened. He survived the wrecks and then dodged the last big one when it was a bad push by Cole Custer to Denny Hamlin and got a back-to-back, which was impressive, man. But another bad wreck. Another one was caused by Cole Custer. But look, man, that's what's going to happen in these races now. The way these cars are, you have to push. And when people are pushing aggressively, they almost don't care about how they're going to push someone. They're just trying to push someone, and then one bad push wrecks the entire field. But luckily for William Byron, he wins the Daytona 500. Congrats to William Byron. I mean, the fact that he went back-to-back, it's a very rare. There's only like 4 other guys that have gone back-to-back. I know Hamlin's gone back-to-back. So it's a very rare company he is in to go back-to-back for the 500, which is, but man, cool for him. Great for Hendrick Motorsports. That was their 10th Daytona 500. Also, this was the largest purse in NASCAR history. $30 million. $30 million purse. Insane. But congrats to him. We are our top 10 from this race. If you're watching this on the YouTube, I had to edit this in because I forgot to even go through this. The top 10 from the Daytona 500 was William Byron. Tyler Reddick was second. Third was Jimmy Johnson. He survived that big wreck. Chase Briscoe was fourth. Great start for him in his first race with Joggers Racing. A points race. Fifth, John Nemechek, great for him. Alex Moon was sixth. Seventh was Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney got damaged, and I think it was the third accident in this race. Third big one. First big one, I guess. And got seventh somehow. That was awesome. Austin Cindric, another guy who was involved in an accident, finished eighth. Ninth for Junior Motorsports. That was awesome. For Junior Motorsports, this entire race was great to see him be competitive. That was awesome. That was just incredible for Junior Motorsports. They did say if Trevor Whiskey didn't want to come back, they would do some more cup races, so that'll be interesting to see if they do that. Then we have your typical, Michael McDowell finished 11th, 12th, Dan Suarez 13th. A lot of guys that kind of finished below here were all kind of involved in accidents or had damage because there was a lot involved. Denny Hamlin was leading the last lap until he got turned, finished 24th. 26th, Brad Keselowski, he was also involved in accidents. I did want to go down here and scroll down here to 39th was Helio Castroneves. The overall weekend for him was just a mess. He wrecked in the duel. I think it was duel 1. He was in the first duel. It was weird. There was a wreck in front of him, and I guess he was went down the apron really fast and lost it on the apron, and then overcorrected and came back up in the wall and destroyed his car. He didn't come back and practice until final practice on Saturday. He looked like he had fun in the ARCA race because he finished 5th, besides getting wrecked on the cooldown lap. But he survived, I believe, stage 1. But then stage 2, he had an accident there where it was a stack up, and he just was nowhere to go and got wrecked. And a lot of people were just not really, I felt bad for Helio because he didn't make the race on speed or in the duel. And a lot of, former drivers like Martin Truex felt like it was a slap in the face that, him or Jimmy Johnson didn't know about this provisional or didn't get the provisional over a guy like Helio who technically didn't even qualify, didn't do anything. He just, because of him winning 4 Indy 500s, he got in. And I think that's one thing that I think NASCAR needs to work on this provisional. I think the fact that, Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex didn't know about this rule or didn't know anything about it, it's not a great look. Because I think, I guess NASCAR probably got some publicity that Helio was in the race, and we'll see with TV ratings if maybe they were a boost from last year. But I don't think it was. I don't think Helio didn't look. I think he might have embarrassed himself a little bit because of the way he raced and get involved in wrecks. But I think for him, I think it let Helio know that this is hard. You have to run that close. You have to be good. You have to be very focused. But I think he also did say in his post-race interview that he was very, he got comfortable. He was getting better and better. I think, who knows what's going to happen in this race if he survives wrecks. Because I think, if he survives some wrecks, he could have finished pretty well. But we'll see if Helio comes back. I think he did say in his post-race interview he wants to run a road course, which would be kind of cool. I think he'd be really good in a Trackhouse car, Project 91 car, we'll see. But I do think this rule, provisional, I don't think it'll be really that useful, or it won't be effective unless we get more than 40 cars. So I don't think the only race I could see us getting more than 40 cars in is maybe Charlotte in the Coastal Center, or the Mexico City race. That's the only chance I see us getting more than 40 cars in besides Daytona 500. But that's my thoughts on Helio. Hopefully he comes back, like I said, but we'll see. Saturday, Hamlin. Hamlin was leading, but a bad push from Cole Custer wrecks him. And a lot of people were talking about this race. A lot of people were talking about NASCAR's inconsistency I want to bring up here. So, Duel 2, coming to the checkered. They had 50 more yards until they hit the cross finish line. NASCAR, they're wrecking. NASCAR throws the yellow before the checkered flag. We thought Aaron Jones crossed the finish line first. He did. But Austin Cindric was ahead of Aaron Jones during the caution, when the caution came out. Now, Sunday night, there's a wreck in the backstretch on the final lap. Cars head on, going into each other. Big wrecks, big hits. Denny Hamlin on his podcast says there's no gentle wreck. Or no. Kevin Harvick said on his podcast there's no wreck is gentle. All these wrecks in the next gen car. Kevin Harvick said on his podcast, my goodness, then there's no wrecks in the next gen car that are gentle. All these wrecks are hard and they hurt. They're wrecking in turn 3. NASCAR does not throw the yellow on the final lap in the Daytona 500, and they have them race back. And, William Byron won this race under green. Well, Denny Hamlin talks about what that encourages when NASCAR does not throw the yellow flag when they're still, racing left. You're encouraging the drivers to drive through the wreck full speed and risk hitting another car That's what NASCAR is encouraging when they don't throw the yellow flag. And I think it's frustrating when it seemed like NASCAR was really consistent most of the weekend. Right when they start wrecking, they threw the yellow flag out, especially during the white flag rate, especially during the white flags for trucks and Xfinity. They threw the white flag, threw the yellow out. But then the Cup race, because of how much they got torched Thursday night for throwing the yellow flag, they don't throw the yellow flag here, and there's just as big as a wreck. So I just don't understand the inconsistency by NASCAR. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be better. I guess NASCAR explained the reason that they did not throw the yellow during the foul out in Daytona 500 was because they were able to deploy the safety trucks. Because once all the cars passed it, they weren't going to come back around full speed. The race was over once they hit the checker flag. The race was over. So I don't really get that though, because they could have done the same thing. There was only 50 more yards to go in the duel 2, and they still throw the yellow flag and ruin the finish of that. They could have easily deployed the safety trucks the same way. And there's safety trucks all around the racetrack. You know, I just don't get it, man. Just NASCAR's inconsistency. I heard that NASCAR coming out with their own podcast called Hauler Talk. We'll see how that goes. I'm bet you it's going to be an entire podcast of NASCAR defending themselves, which is fine. But we'll see. But overall, this race, 500, there's a quote from Denny Hamlin. Let me find it. The winner is lucky. The champion is lucky. That is not good for legitimacy in the sports landscape. So Denny Hamlin during his podcast talked about the racing that we see at Daytona now. It's just about luck, which I have to agree that the racing now, William Byron won that Daytona 500 because he avoided a wreck. He didn't make a last lap move. He just survived the way the wreck happened. He was able to make a move, and no cars came at him. Like, Hamlin was coming at him, but he wasn't coming at him at a fast enough rate to hit him. So he survived. It's about survival. It's not about how your car's handling or how fast of a car you have. All the cars are the same. Then he talks about, how the cars have so much drag now that there's no such thing as this. Back when he started racing in the Cup Series and the Daytona 500, the cars were so fast and so hard to handle that the cars were so much more spread out, and that allowed for the better cars to win races because not everyone was so bunched up. You could make moves, you could maneuver. That's why Dale Earnhardt was one of the best, because he could maneuver around cars better than others. And now you don't have that in the super speedway racing now. It's more about just the cars are so close, they're so tight together, and it's all about pushing now. There's no air bubble. You used to have where the momentum of the air was just pushing this one car in front of you. Now you can get so close to each other and you can hit each other and just boom, bang, bang. And then one bad push like we talked about leads to these massive wrecks. It's not about being the most skilled driver or the best car. It's about just surviving the wrecks and being up front. So I just hate it for that. And I do agree though with the way that NASCAR is when it comes to entertainment. Danny Hamlin talks about the way this car is now. The NASCAR Cup Series car was created for the racing to be as close as possible without actually being good racing. The short track package, the short track racing, they're so close to each other, but so hard to pass because they're all running the same speed. Intermediate racing is the only package racing that we actually see good racing because the tracks are multi-groove. Road course racing is they're closer to each other, but also it's just as hard to pass. So that was kind of my issue, and I agree. I think the super speedway racing now is a lot more about luck than it's ever been because of this package. And look, man, will NASCAR do anything? Danny Hamlin says that they need to get rid of drag. Get rid of the drag. Reduce the splitter. You got to get rid of these drags. You got to make these cars faster by themselves because right now they're going like 185 by themselves. Danny talked about they used to go close to 200 by themselves. So they got to find a way to get these cars faster. But look, man, will NASCAR listen? Who knows? But overall, I was going to get into some silly season news, but we've been talking for a long, long time, and I don't want to make this podcast too long. So we're going to stop my podcast about Daytona. Like I said, it was a great race. My Daytona 500, the rolling rate for the Daytona 500, I'm going to give this thing, I'm going to give it a 7 as well. I'm going to give it a 7.5. I mean, it was entertaining. 3 wide was cool, but it was fuel saving. It's just your typical next-gen super speedway racing. But overall, I really enjoyed this weekend at Daytona. I can't wait to be back. Stay tuned. I'm going to be on this new fan cam video. There's a guy named Zach who does his little fan cam. I got interviewed by him. Also, there's going to be a lot of videos that I posted from this weekend at Daytona that will be on that video. I'll be posting on my social media. Also, let me know what you thought about the podcast style. Do you like listening to me talk about NASCAR in a podcast setting? I do apologize. I kind of got twisted in my words and just mumbled through a couple. I kind of started over because of that. But that's all going to be in there. I'm not going to edit anything. You kind of know now that I didn't edit any of it. But let me know if you like the podcast. Please tell me if you want something different. If you couldn't understand me, let me know. Please and thank you. Besides that, like I say, thank you guys for watching. Goodbye.